Hello everyone, welcome back to League of Legends DFS Esports Breakdown for Worlds Play-ins Day 3. So I know maybe you guys saw, maybe not, but I tweeted out that I was not going to be making any more videos on this one. But I think there's a couple interesting spots here that I think are worth kind of talking about it and that I kind of feel pretty good about. So, things have not been going our way. I've been kind of just completely swept off the board, kind of across the way here. I'm 0 for 4 so far on the slates and lineups that I've entered so far. So, kind of keep that in mind. Maybe you guys can take it, everything I'm kind of saying with a grain of salt here. Just, things have not been going my way at all. So, maybe that's just kind of how it goes. Just kind of don't have a good read on anything that's going on right now, that kind of thing. It happens, but either way, I think we can kind of keep trucking forward here, and there's a couple of interesting spots that I think are worth kind of taking another crack at. Maybe I won't have a video out for day 4 if I think it's going to continue to go poorly for us, but nonetheless, we'll talk about that anyway. So the first set of 3 games up here is Fnatic versus Loud, Mad versus Saigon Buffalo, and Beyond versus DFM. The main spot here that I think I want to kind of approach is going back to the Saigon Buffalo versus Mad Lions game here. I think Saigon, again, they've kind of been like a weird team. I think they're kind of been what we expected in a way. They've been pretty solid, not quite the cleanest, but they've been looking pretty decent, kind of up and down. They are, of course, a pretty action-packed team. They're going to push the tempo, and obviously we had to kind of adapt to things. We have a lot of new picks coming into the meta, that kind of thing, and I do think that they've been actually looking pretty interesting. And I think Mad Lions have been looking a little bit slow and a little bit hesitant. I've not been all too impressed with Mad Lions here. I think that's what's kind of spurring this on. So if you look at kind of the scoreboard and kind of where we're at here, obviously we just got done with day 2. We look at kind of where Mad Lions has been 3-0, obviously, or 2-1. They've lost to RNG just recently. Then they picked up wins over Istanbul Wildcats and Isurus, and I think Istanbul and Isurus are looking very, very weak, and I don't think Mad Lions looked all too clean in either of those victories, and so I've just been not too impressed with Mad Lions overall. I do think they have, more capabilities and a little bit more kind of skill, I guess. They have more potential there. I just personally have not seen it. I've just been not too impressed with them, so far, and I'm just kind of feeling this spot a good bit here. I've yet to really have much confidence in many selections through the first 2 days, but I think this one is actually a pretty interesting spot for sure. I'd imagine it's going to be relatively popular. Saigon Buffalo are one of those teams, kind of similar to kind of how Rogue Warriors are, Anyone's Legend. I guess I need to start calling them by their actual name now. But yeah, kind of like how Anyone's Legend is over in the LPL, where even if they do kind of play poorly, it still can kind of come down to their upside for DFS, and I think that's a pretty interesting spot for Saigon Buffalo in this spot versus Mad Lions. Mad Lions have been giving up a good bit, I think, to these lower end teams, and I think this is a pretty good spot for Saigon, so I'm definitely looking to get in on this spot for sure. In terms of what to pair them up with, obviously the Beyond Gaming versus DFM game is odds kind of like a pick'em. Beyond slight favorite here. I think in a vacuum, I do kind of disagree with this price tag on DFM. Obviously, they're 2-1. They got the win over Chiefs. They've lost to Fnatic and Loud. Pretty uninspiring games for DFM. I've not been pretty high on DFM. They were one of the kind of higher echelon teams that I had kind of in my mind going into play-ins. They've not looked quite great in their own right. And obviously, I think Beyond, I think they're getting a little bit of too much of a boost from their recent performances. Again, they only have a win over Loud and a loss to EG. They didn't look particularly great, I think, in either of these games, and I'm a little bit surprised. I think these odds are shifting a little bit too heavily, kind of towards what's going on, with the game, with what we've seen so far, and I just don't fully agree with it at the moment. I would still have DFM as the slightly better team, although they have not looked it. DFM have kind of heavily relied on the kind of heroic plays from their mid and AD carry players. Yutapon and Yaharong, I think, off the top of my head, I believe that's the players I'm trying to name. Yaharong and Yudupon, the DFM mid and AD carry players. I think they've been kind of relying on them pretty heavily. I think, but we've seen some positives from these teams still. They just have not been able to put it together. And I think overall these odds are kind of swaying a little bit too heavily. I just don't fully agree with it. So I would go with the DFM underdog. I don't know if I necessarily pair them up with Saigon Buffalo, especially if you're doing like one lineup. I don't know if you need to do that. But at the end of the day, I'm definitely willing to go with Fnatic versus Fnatic and Loud, or Fnatic versus Loud. Sorry. Again, I think Fnatic have been looking incredibly good so far. But Fnatic has potential to end this group undefeated, and I think that'd be a pretty good spot for them. Obviously, I could definitely see that happening. I like the odds there with Fnatic to pair them up with like a Saigon Buffalo or a DFM. However, I expect this DFM versus Beyond game to be a little bit close. I have the things kind of pulled up. Although we could see DFM and Beyond both at about like a 24 total, pretty low overall. We have Fnatic and Loud. Loud's at like a 28. Fnatic's at like 25. But we've seen Fnatic, I think, play with a pretty decent pace so far. At Worlds, and obviously Saigon has an incredibly high number, and they're going up against I'm kind of blanking. They're going up against who is Saigon Buffalo playing? Yeah, Mad Lion. Sorry. So that's a pretty decent spot as well. So obviously I would kind of favor, or not favor. Sorry, that's the kind of the wrong word. But I would like the look of that series. Or that match of Saigon Buffalo versus Mad Lions a good bit, and then probably that Fnatic Loud one secondarily, and then probably the DFM Beyond one is like a third option. Maybe you could get a little bit of a cheap, or you're kind of low ownership in that match because the teams play at a relatively slow pace. However, one thing I feel like I've kind of noticed and looked at a little bit here is with these teams is the fact that I feel like these close matches are the ones that end up kind of getting up there in total. And that one definitely kind of seems like it'll be pretty close. We've seen the back and forth with like Beyond DFM, and I think it'll be pretty interesting. Although that's the one I'm probably going to end up having to leave off. I think I will be going with the Saigon Buffalo paired up with Fnatic. With the idea there. And when we look at the players, obviously from Saigon, it has been pretty heavily focused around Shogun, although the numbers don't quite particularly show that. It's definitely been pretty heavily revolving around kind of that everywhere but top play style, where they have Bean J Froggy go down there and meet Shogun and Taki in the bottom lane. We've definitely seen that a good bit. Over on the Fnatic side, it's been pretty heavily centered around Humanoid. He's been looking pretty good. He's just been looking absolutely insane in the mid lane for Fnatic. We've seen obviously the spike performance from Upset, where he did get the like 14 kill game or whatever from the second game of the day, or the second game from their series. It's just been pretty heavily revolving around Humanoid, so that's the way you could attack that one. You could maybe go with like a double mid with like Froggy and Humanoid, for example. I think that would not be a bad build here. But there's definitely options you could go with. You could definitely maybe look at some stats of just the Worlds game so far. However, that's still like a 3-game sample. I don't know if you quite want to get that down and dirty. In that one, I mean, Mad, for example, only have 2 games, so I don't know if that's the direction you want to go, but I definitely like the options that you do have if you want to go with any 3 of the Fnatic, Saigon Buffalo, and DFM angles there in the first set of games. Series, or the second set of games, is the 2-gamer here. It's actually a little bit odd. It's just a little bit backwards, just the way that kind of things break out here. So this one's going to be pretty straightforward. I think this one is actually going to be a little bit of a play for me because I do like Chiefs versus EG. I've not been very impressed with EG. They've been pretty heavily reliant on their mid lane player, Jojo Pune. Jojo has been looking very, very solid. I cannot take anything away from him. He's been looking very good. The team overall has not been doing much around him. And that could be definitely a point of contention because I think the Chiefs mid laner Tally has been playing very, very poorly. It just mainly kind of comes down to the price tag for me on this one. I don't think EG are this much of a favorite versus Chiefs. Again, I still believe that there's a good bit of upside and potential with this roster, especially when we're looking at like Arthur, for example, and Brant's. I think they have a good bit more potential and kind of ability to get there. Again, the concern is that JoJo has been playing at a very, very solid level, and Tally has been getting outclassed pretty heavily in his own right. So that's kind of the potential, but hopefully we are able to get Tally out of that mid lane, hopefully help his team out a little bit. Hopefully they can do a little bit of hopefully they can just play like a little bit better here, and I think hopefully we'll be able to get a little bit more from this Chiefs roster that we have not seen yet, obviously, and I have not been impressed with EG overall. So I'm definitely willing to go with EG, pair them up with RNG here. I don't particularly love that RNG's the minus 2,800 price tag on this one. It's a little bit crazy for sure, but I'm willing to go pretty heavily stacking up on Chiefs. And I think you can get a little bit unique in terms of where you stack them here, and that's the reason I'm interested in this a little bit. Is I do think you can go down to like an Arthur captain because he is such an interesting jungler. In that aspect, you could definitely go with like an Arthur and a Wei, and get a little bit unique that way because obviously Wei's numbers are pretty insane as well as Arthur's. I think you could definitely pair up the junglers, and I think that'll be a relatively unique build considering that Chiefs is like a decently sized underdog. You could go double AD carry captain, so willingly going down to that double jungle captain can get you pretty unique in this 2-gamer, and that's the way I think I'm willing to approach that and get a little bit unique in that sense. So that's the way I'm going in that one. We head out to the third series. The third set of games, this third slate, I guess you should say. It gets a little bit interesting. Obviously, we do have RNG back again as the minus 1,600 favorite in Istanbul Wildcats. We have DRX minus 1,200 versus Isurus. Again, this one's going to be pretty straightforward for me. I'm willing to take the shot here with Chiefs again. I know this is probably a little bit of a broken record here, but I just do not quite fully agree with kind of Chiefs not being able to get there as of yet, especially against, I think, somebody like Beyond. Obviously, we just have not seen the kind of upside and I think skill that we have seen from Chiefs that they can put into display. Obviously, I do rate Fnatic very highly. I think they're a very, very strong team. I think Detonation Focus Me is a pretty decent to strong team. So I think overall the fact that Chiefs have lost to them is not quite as defeating maybe as it looks, as their 0-2 record may appear. And for that reason, I'm willing to go back to them again, give them another chance here on this day 3. Again, there's maybe a solid chance that they're kind of a little bit imploded here, that maybe they end this like 1-4 or something, like their group, maybe their group stage ends up very, very poorly here. And for that reason, I'm still willing to go there. I just personally do not fully necessarily agree with how underdog price they are getting here. So I'm willing to kind of go back and give a little bit of another attempt with this Chiefs team again in this spot as the underdog against Beyond. As far as like where to go to pair them up with, I don't particularly love either of these gigantic favorites of RNG and Istanbul. We can maybe look at the like where these teams have been like kind of giving up deaths in. I think Istanbul just had a pretty like a pretty decent defeat. Yeah, they just gave up 26 to DRX. Let's see. Is Istanbul really the only team that played here? I feel like Isurus, yeah, they gave up 26 as well. Definitely look at like both of those spots. This is where Shogun had a 16. Day 1, Isurus gave up 22. Istanbul gave up 19. So both of these teams have been giving up a good amount. Istanbul here gave up 20 as well. So both of these teams have been giving up a decent amount of kills. So I don't think you could go I don't think you could go particularly wrong with either side here. It's just kind of whatever your preference is in terms of where you want to pair them up with. I'm just willing to go with Chiefs. I think you could maybe make an argument that you make the exact same lineup from the second slate to the third slate as well. just go with the Chiefs captain, or go with Chiefs, go with RNG, double up that jungle captain. Maybe that's another, just do the exact same lineup as we just mentioned. Talk about maybe getting Arthur captain. We've seen his upside. We know his ability and his upside. Yeah, I feel like, I'm just kind of repeating myself. His upside and his ability to play these carry junglers like the Graves is something he's definitely very big on, and that kind of thing. We can see that upside from him. Up in these, in this game, they're the slight underdog here again. I think they're going to be like a relatively popular underdog. Obviously, people are going to want to play these RNG, DRX, gigantic favorites. But I think getting down to that double jungle will hopefully be able to get you to at least a little bit more of a unique construction and hopefully put you in a different contention. I think that's going to be my thought process and build for hopefully all, both of these second and third slates with the Chiefs and RNG on them as well. So again, I'm pretty interested in that angle. I obviously looking forward to these Chiefs games. Hopefully they're able to kind of turn their play-ins around. It's not too great and inspiring, especially at that mid lane matchup of EG versus Chiefs. Jojo Pion has been looking very, very strong, and Tally has been looking very, very weak. That's definitely going to be a problem for sure. But nonetheless, I'm willing to give them maybe a little bit of a benefit of the doubt, and hopefully they're able to do something a little bit differently and play a little bit better here. So that's going to be my ideas and build here for day number 3. Hopefully we're able to, kind of just turn it around and get a little bit better results. We know things have not been going our way, but hopefully we can, try it again. And, I think that'll be it for me today. So thank you guys for tuning in again. If you guys are here on day number 3, after 2 consecutive days of getting wiped off the board, I appreciate you guys coming back again and having the faith in me. So we'll go ahead and give it another try. Hopefully we can turn things around. So best luck to you guys all tomorrow, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night maybe.